the carnivore community who eats zero vegetation for significant periods of time. Have you worked with people in that space?
Do I think that it can help people to heal? Absolutely. I think those diets can work well for short periods of time. I don't think that they're actually studied for long enough. I don't believe it's sustainable to be carnivore, where we don't eat plants.
The carnivore community, for instance, who eats zero vegetation for significant periods of time and seem to have a pretty highly functioning gut microbiome. It seems like that microbiome acclimates to that input over enough time. They don't seem to have any issues. Have you worked with people in that space? Like, I'm not a hardcore staunch carnivore by any means. I can appreciate it, but I have a little bit more vegetation than some of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was carnivore for a bit, right? Like I went fully keto, fully carnivore. I think those diets can work well for short periods of time. I don't think that they're actually studied for long enough where someone's actually being, and their entire gut microbiome and how their body responds and their immune system is studied for like a span of like 20 to 30 years, for example, right? I think we're having very limited data still on what that does to the body long term. Do I think that it can help people to heal? Absolutely, right? Like there's people, like I personally know people that have done all the healing tools and it never really happened. And then they went carnivore. They specifically did like fermentation. So they were actually fermenting their own beef and like fermenting, their own like kefir and things like that, and used that as a tool to heal. And I think it can really help because when the gut is so damaged, which it is in some people, it's going to see even the smallest amount of lectins in plants or other things as something that it needs to attack, right? So you can literally have autoimmune responses to like plants. Mm-hmm. However, like I have also seen people that do have that response and that don't need to do carnivore in order to heal themselves, because we're actually targeting that within the first phase of our program, right? We're really targeting on like, okay, we're needing to seal the gut lining, calm down mast cell activity, which is typically present in those cases, and just overall make the body feel safe again. Because the way that I look at the gut is that on like a psychosomatic lens, it's quite literally like our boundary, right? It's where the body decides what to take in and what to leave out. And so if we don't have boundaries in our lives and other places, like if as a child we were taught to be the good girl or the good guy and always just like people please and things like that, our bodies will literally reflect that. Like I have seen this with parasites as well, like a lot of clients that don't have their energetic and emotional boundaries. And then the moment that we actually help them to overcome that and to learn to say no in certain relationships and dynamics, they're releasing 50 parasites literally the next day. Like it's actually miraculous almost, right? And so it's the same thing with both our skin, because this is a big boundary to the external world, and the intestinal lining is another really big boundary, or like the lining of our internal digestive tract in general. So yeah, I would say for a lot of those people, long story short, I don't believe it's sustainable to be carnivore entirely, where we don't eat plants. Plants are also one of the ways in which we get a ton of our minerals in, right? Like if you look at Chronometer and you put all of your vegetables in, just try it for ones where you're putting all of your vegetables in, if you do actually eat 2 to 3 cups, and you're going to see like all the different, minerals that you're getting from those different plants, and also the different ratios. And, plants are really high, tend to be really high in potassium. I think like 1 cup of celery juice has all of your potassium needs of the day, or 1 potato. And so just to kind of start to track like, okay, like the plant that I'm eating isn't just like, oh, this is a few calories. Like, what is that going to do? It's like a ton of like minerals that we actually really need. And then of course, also like the prebiotic fiber for the gut microbiome longer term. So yeah, I don't know if like from a purely scientific lens, I can fully speak to that, but I have just seen people have way better results when they do incorporate fiber, especially since it is a binder, right? Like again, coming from like a detoxification perspective, our bodies detox through bile. It's one of the primary ways that it detoxes, so that the fluid that the liver releases and the gallbladder. And if that's not bound, if the toxins in there aren't bound and they're not excreted out of the body, they actually get reabsorbed through a process of what's called enterohepatic circulation. So for people that don't actually have enough soluble fiber and insoluble fiber, and the bile doesn't get bound and actually excreted, a lot of that gets recirculated. And so then over time, you can see things like estrogen dominance and, like even mold toxins recirculating or heavy metals recirculating. So that's personally why I believe that, fiber is so important. I will say that one of my mentors doesn't eat as many vegetables, for example, as I do, and he really loves to include a supplement called acacia. I think it's acacia fiber, which
Hmm.
also technically binds, right? So there's other ways in which you can get your fiber. I personally just love getting them from vegetables.
Makes total sense. When it comes to detoxes, there's a lot of different detoxes out there. So obviously, there's probably one for each ailment, so to speak. But when you're working with an individual, like what are your go-to forms of detox? Like which ones are just smoke and mirrors and probably should be avoided, and the internet's just preaching versus actually effective?
Yeah. So, I mean, most of what you're going to see online is just like something you should avoid at all costs. It's just what the
Mhm.
way that I like to look at it. Now, it doesn't mean that the products that are in those detox kits cannot be used at certain times and be especially effective, right? Like an example is like a parasite cleanse, for example. That's something that I would never recommend, but some of those ingredients may be helpful at some point, but probably only until you're about 8 to 9 months into your healing journey, because the body first needs the energy to actually effectively eliminate parasites. We need to actually deal with the reason why the parasites are there, because if you're not, then you're just coming back. So when it comes to detox kits, or like the way that I approach detox is like everything I just mentioned, right? Getting your gut lining in check, optimizing bile flow, basically just optimizing drainage in general, which means that we're optimizing our bowel movements because that's our first primary exit route for the toxins. So if we're congested in any way, like if we're not pooping 1 to 3 times a day, like ideally multiple, we are backed up to an extent, meaning that whatever toxin we're pulling out or the body is trying to detox on a cellular level, it's not actually leaving the body and gets reabsorbed. So the way that I like to just look at that is like, is your drainage funnel open? Meaning that, are you pooping? Is your bile, like, is your liver releasing bile efficiently, or is it backed up? Are you sweating enough? Is your lymphatic system congested or open? Are your kidneys filtering properly? And then to the cellular level, does your body have enough energy to actually get the toxins out of your cells, right? So if those things are in place, you don't need any detox because your body is literally detoxing 24/7. Where we need certain products and detox agents is when any of those get backed up or congested or blocked, which are in it's in most of us these days, because like again, we have all the physical things going on, but also it can be blocked emotionally. If we have a lot of anger and resentment that we're holding on to from our childhood, this can actually lead to liver congestion, right? So every organ is associated with different emotions in Chinese medicine as well, and it actually depends if we have vital energy, life force, blood flow, even going to that organ, or if it's blocked and stagnant and like essentially like cold, if you will. So what I like to look at with my clients is like, okay, where are they at on that spectrum? Are they having daily bowel movements? If that's in place and they don't have any digestive issues, then I move them through the liver phase. And the liver phase is where we're really opening up that bile flow. So we're taking things that actually push bile. And the simplest things that people can practice with today is like something as simple as like drinking lemon water in the morning. It actually induces bile flow. Ginger induces bile. Green tea with jasmine specifically helps push bile. Lemon olive oil shots, these are kind of like a hesitation because if you do have a congested liver, this actually might make you feel worse. So I wouldn't really tell people to just jump on that trend, but it is one of the ways that it can actually, right, trigger a bowel release. Liver flushes are extremely helpful. This is something that I really get people to do once their body is primed for that, because it can also stir up too much and they can actually further make their symptoms worse. Coffee enemas, Tudka enemas, like all of these things are really, really powerful if done in the right setting and order. So colon, then I move them through the liver phase. And then from there onwards, like we can do lymphatic work. We could move into kidney work. For some people, I might move them straight into a mineral balancing protocol where we do the HTMA test. We actually start to optimize and balance their minerals, because we also have to understand that if the body doesn't have enough minerals, right, if it's been depleted for years, you don't actually have enough nutrients to create bile, because like bile needs specific minerals as well. You don't have enough minerals or energy to create enough stomach acid. And so we can do all the detoxes that we want, but we're actually not giving the body enough nutrients to produce all of the things that it needs to produce itself. So in terms of like actual cleanses, I wouldn't recommend juice cleanses. I wouldn't recommend any sort of like detox kits. For colon cleanses, I do really love mucoid plaque cleanses. So you can do this with like specific kits, or you can do it at home. I actually have like a product available for less than $100 that people can do, where it's like a 10-day cleanse where they're going through like a mucoid plaque cleanse, which is a gut cleanse that really strips mucus and other toxins from the gut. But even that, like, I really am really careful with telling people, you know, don't do it in a state where you're already feeling dysregulated and depleted, because we should never go into a cleanse or a detox from that state. It should always be from a state of like, I feel good, I feel robust in my body. And I also know that like going through a phase of just taking something out of the body wouldn't feel too depleting right now. So yeah, like the way that I view detoxification is that it's more so probably very similar to what you're doing, as we're first creating a surplus of energy in the body. And then the body naturally starts to detox, and whatever it can't do naturally, then we introduce these like cleanses or these liver flushes or these like 1-day, you know, colon flush kits and things like that.
Thank you for watching this episode of The Savage Clip. If you want to see the full-blown deep dive, check out the full episode here, and I'll see you there.